Hi everybody, how are you today? I'm happy. Do you know why? Because shopping's just no fun anymore, but it was this morning. Yeah, I know I don't need any more. Jack says you don't need any more, but he made two fatal errors. I'll tell you what they are. He said, I have to run into Canadian Tire for some nuts and bolts, and you can run into Save-On and get what you need there, and I'll meet you back at the car. Okay. And my luck was so good because I was sort of thinking I might do this, but they had orchids on sale. So there's the tags. I brought them home, and it just so happens I had bark soaking for the last 3 days because I was going to do another video. And then I thought, well, I might not need that bark because those orchids I was going to repot, the bark isn't old. So we'll talk about that later, hopefully, if we get time. So the other fatal error he made was, at a garage sale, we picked up this sewer pipe quite some time ago, and I hauled it out of where I keep my pots and asked him to drill some holes, which he did, right away. And he designed the rest all on his own. And on the bottom, which is the base and is holding it steady, we had a stained glass lamp in our living room a couple years ago. But last year, we were watching this video and there was this big car crash in the video, and our chairs jumped and we jumped and the lamp went flying and it broke. But this piece was left and he's kept it all this time, and he put it on to the end, and it's just siliconed on there, and he put some wire in the bottom to hold the bark in. Now, I haven't painted it. They come white. I thought I'd leave it white. And so that's what we're doing. We have room for 2 orchids. And I just Googled, in case anybody's interested, there's what do they call it? They call it a 4-inch PVC sewer pipe. It's called a Y, sewer Y. It's a 45-degree sewer Y. And the price is Canadian, $6.23 at Kent. So anyway, we paid way less than that because we got it at a garage sale. So I pulled it out, he did it, and you know what happened? He says, I'm going to have to quit making new pots because new pot. Like, all my orchids seem very happy in their pots except for the one I was going to redo. And this was really too big for those ones. So anyway, we better get started because we got 2 orchids to do. And let's see, maybe we'll look at the little one first. The little one's going to go in the side, and the big one's going to go straight up. So it should be quite beautiful. And I've got my bark soaking. So if you're a beginner and you're using just bark or bark and some other things, but not moss, you can soak it for 3 days. And I also put a little bit of seaweed extract in it that's available in a lot of stores. I noticed Canadian Tire's even selling it now, so I had ordered mine online, but it doesn't matter where you're getting yours. So I put probably a good tablespoon in this container with the bark, and I hope I have enough bark, but lots of times I don't, so it's very simple. They say don't repot it right away. I always come home and I usually don't have the bark ready, so I right away take it out the pot and give those roots some air, because these roots are getting next to no air. A lot of time they say water's killing your orchids, but if your orchids are in a pot and even there's so many roots and they're crowded, It doesn't matter what your media is. If those roots are so crowded in that pot, no air's getting in. And then you add media, you're getting no air, and those roots will rot. The gases that are exchanging in there, they need to be released. And they can't be released if there's no air circulation. That's why we have holes in our orchid pots. And in wild, they are free. They're not in a pot. So I would say this plant, I wouldn't give it much life, because also being stuck in this moss is the other problem. Now, I don't use these pots at all, so they get recycled. So they just had these on sale today. So I don't know how long they've been there. I didn't water it. It's quite wet. So, but I see little tips here growing. I saw green roots. Now, I couldn't find many with aerial roots, but I did see this one real healthy one showing nice growth. The size of these roots is a sign of how much growth we're getting. And I have one aerial root here. So let's just take this bark off. I got my sink hooked up here in the patio for canning season, and it's been so useful. We bathed Maggie in it a few times already. And better not say that word or she'll disappear. So, and it's so handy for so many things, and on watering day, this sink's quite a bit bigger, so I get more orchids in, and I can water all my, so I have time to water 2 more orchids because I'm doing it so much quicker. Anyway, you know, it's no fun shopping anymore, and if you can have some fun and enjoy yourself, boy, you might as well do it. That's what I say. So, sometimes people get these little basket things right in the center core. I've never had one yet, but they could prove me wrong, but it's not looking like it. There's quite a bit of moss. The roots are looking good so far. Yeah. Now, every time you do a repot, even, you know, they do take a shot, because when you're changing media, anytime you change media, they grow new roots. They've been living in complete dampness. And some of the roots survive, but other than that, they grow new roots to suit the media that you're putting in them. Doesn't matter if you're changing from moss to bark or bark to moss or whatever you're doing. It doesn't matter. They will take, some will do better. That is why we soak our bark. So right away, it's not in moss, but it's in a comfortable, moist environment, because the bark has been soaking, and it also helps the bark start to do its job. So things are looking really good. They must have just got these in. So there's our orchid. Now, I like bark because once they get used to it, and yes, they take a shot, and then they say, don't do them in full bloom, don't leave them packed in that moss. That is a big mistake, and one that does more damage than you know, because it may not show right away, but it will show. It takes its time to get up and affect the whole plant. But if the roots are not getting air and they're compacted down there, then they're not going to be working. And if the roots aren't working, the plant is not getting the nourishment it needs. So that is it. And I've been using bark for so many years now. We were trying to figure out how old Maggie is, and she's 7. She was born in late 2012, so I had orchids then, so I know it's been 8 years at least. So, but we didn't get her till June of 2013. So that's, you know, time flies so fast. So Anyway, all of this needs, I don't have to cut anything off. I'm going to give it a good rinse under the water. Make sure I get, sometimes you can leave a little bit and you'll be surprised how even just a little bit of, I have everything I need here. I have scissors. I put my scissors over the burning liquid. But even here, there must be, if I go in here with the tweezers and get these little pieces of moss, because I have left them before, and then I wonder why those few roots are getting, Maggie's chasing something, probably a rat. Maggie, it's okay. Oh dear, she'll start barking. Don't bark. I don't know what else it would be, but it looks like it's probably saw something. Come here, no, we don't need it. Maggie, come here. Oh boy, come on in. Sorry everybody, she ain't listening, it's a rat. You know, that's what ate my cymbidium. So anyway, she saw something and she also smells it. So I think I've cleaned these pretty good. Maybe this one right inside here. It's not soggy. I'm not going to cut it off, but I'm cleaning all around it. No, it's off just as well. So it was right, it's an old one, right? So it wouldn't have taken long. It would have started affecting all of them. So there we got the first one done. And I'm going to sit it back in here in its pot. And we'll do number 2. See what we got here. I like to hold, I leave these in. Some people take them out. But I found they help hold everything a little bit firmer when you're doing this. So I don't ever take them out. This one's a little harder. Don't want to break anything. So you have to kind of squeeze and twist, and maybe a little water on this one. This one's not as so if you're having trouble getting it out, give it a little soak with some water. Let's see if that makes a difference. Wow. I'm getting it. Wow, I'm not getting it. What have I got here? I got a knife. Okay, let's move this one out of the way. Everyone is different. Now, I don't want to cut any roots, but I'm going to take this knife that's not very sharp, and I'm just going to go down the edge, just kind of carefully. Somewhere where I can't see any roots I'm damaging. Yeah, this one was a little drier. It got water on the top. Okay, let's try again. There we go. Now we got it. This one is really thick. Now, there is no air into these roots. None whatsoever. And if you've just got home and you don't have your bark soaked, I would pick it all apart real loose and make sure air is getting in there. It's just take the worst off, let the air in for the 3 days your bark is soaking, and then put it back in your pot. You can leave some of the moss, and I'd put it in, just lighten this up so some air can get in there while you're waiting. Because if that stays compact like that, you're going to have dead roots. And your plant's not getting any nourishment. Some of these might be green, but they could be not working anymore because they've been so packed here. They haven't received any air at all. And that is more the problem than too much water. That is just the problem, no air. That's very, very, very thick, this one. So you have to get all that out of there. It's good for my compost. I never put moss in mine. I've never had to, but if you live somewhere where you're a lot drier, you could always add a little moss in with that bark. It's not thick like this, so air is still getting around. But you probably have to repot sooner unless you get real good moss. But I probably find I only have to repot every 3rd year. Maybe 2 on some, but usually it's every 3rd year. And I'm happy with that. Plants seem happy with it. So when I unpot mine, there isn't this messy trouble because the bark just falls off and the job is done. And the roots that grow in bark, they're hardy roots. They come out here and they can stand the heat. It's 93 in here right now. And they don't mind that. And we've had rain off and on, and they get enough humidity. Okay, we've almost got it. So these roots in here, although they look green, they I think they've been getting no air at all for some time. So luckily the outside ones are always the best ones. The ones that have been near those air holes. Okay, I'm going to rinse this off and then we'll get to putting it in our pot. Jack says, that's it, I'm going to quit making you pots. I don't think he meant it. I don't think he meant it. You know, I went online and I thought, you know, can I order like a big lip or something? And I just couldn't find anywhere near here. And then in the end I thought, well, all my orchids except maybe 4, 2 dendrobiums, the slipper orchids, and one other one are species that were ordered from out of town, but they don't carry Phalaenopsis where I ordered from. So all the rest are grocery store. All of them can be done. Okay, let me just give this a real good rinse. Maggie, no. She's still out there being a nuisance. Needs quite a bit of water, so anyway, this is how I suggest you do it. As soon as you can get that out of that pot, the better, and you can see why. And a lot of places will say, you know, don't do it till their flowers are gone, but if you wait that long with a store-bought orchid, then I'm going to show you a few things here in a minute. That this one has been suffering longer. Now, in here, right in here, this one is gone rotten. This one's gone rotten, and I think it went green again. I'm just going to cut it off. So I took my pruners and I put them in the heat of the stove, and I do that a lot, and that's why it's quite black on the end. So I'm going to trim that off right, if I can get in here. Let's see, right up in, whoops, right up in here. I'm going to take that one off. So this one is worse, and what did we notice about it? It's way more compacted also. There, kind of pulled out, so I got it quite deep back. So, and then here we got this one. It's hanging on, but really I'm cutting that off too. So sometimes you have trouble when you get an orchid and you don't know if you should cut something off or if you shouldn't. But I say that one goes. Thank goodness it's a growing season, but right now they're in flower. They're not thinking about that. But soon, and they will get into the growing season, and because it still is, this one's a little later. So I think we got enough healthy roots that even though we take those off, there's a new one coming in here, little baby. That's always good to see. Now, here's one that I think I'm going to take off. This one, it's kind of black. And this was the difference of the other one, of this one being compacted longer, and probably an older plant too. So I'd rather cut that off than leave it. And you know, I used to use all kinds of soak them in a little bit of water and alcohol. I don't do that anymore. I found it was really doing more harm than good. I make sure they're clean and nothing's living in there. We look for scale and signs of bugs, you know. All along here, scale love this underside of the leaf. And sometimes even at the point. And then way down in here when you look for scale. Way down in here. Okay, let's give it a rinse again. And the tweezers just to get a small bit of that moss out of there. Just sticks. You know, the other thing is about the size of the pot. They say, oh, orchids like to be crowded. Well, make sure you're not putting it in a pot so small that the roots are so crowded that there's no air circulation. You put a tiny bit of media and you got no air circulation because it's too crammed in a small pot. Me, I found they like big pots. A lot of mine are big pots, and they grow roots to suit them. Here's another one I'm going to take off. So this one we know is what it's worth. We're going to take that one off right there. There we go. Hope you saw that. The sun's shining in here, and I can't see what I'm showing you, but I'm winging it. It's nice to do this out here because this is where all my orchids are now. This one will be going in the house when it's done. So I think we're pretty clean. I'm going to give it one more rinse and we'll get her in the pot. This is when we say thank goodness. Thank goodness for aerial roots. So, yeah, this is the debris. So we'll just put that down there out of the way. And we'll get our pot. So we threw with our tweezers, I think. I had some alcohol out. And I had some in case I needed it. So we'll put that back out of the way. Okay. Oops. Maybe we'll put see, these are now, just imagine this is one pot. That's a nice sized pot. Why they do good in these is the plastic. So if you're somewhere where quite often your humidity isn't good enough, that's one reason. They have big holes for the air and helps keep the humidity in longer. So we need a little bark in the bottom. And if I had some of those peanuts, just to take up some airspace, I'd put them in the wrong bottom. But I have a few wine corks that'll help fill up the bottom a little bit. We don't have a lot of wine corks. So, let that drain out a bit. So we'll put some bark in. The hole. Doesn't matter what hole I put it in, they're both going to join. They actually have their own separate pots for a certain distance, and just at the bottom, do they probably don't need too much more in there. Okay, so now, yeah, you can see that. Okay, let's take the little one, put it down here. Okay, maybe we'll just tip it up a bit. I'm always running around picking the bark up, and then I sweep it up, and then I pick it out, rinse it off, and put it back in a pot that might have had not quite enough bark. This pot is good because it's not hanging way over. It's still going to have quite a bit of support here. It's not, right sideways. So I think we should put the big one in. I'll be checking this. Oh, maybe when they come back in, we'll clean this up, see what roots we lost. I like to go through ones that have newly repotted and clean them up after they've been in for a while. So I like also to, I don't like them to be too deep into the media where the leaves start to come out. I like to have mine a little bit higher so that right where the root is not sitting in a real moist environment. And that's something you have to be careful of too. If you're adding a top dressing, just remember that if that top dressing is definitely staying wetter, then just make sure you're not potted too deep in there where it's going to rot on you. So I like mine a little bit higher. And then I kind of like to shake it a bit and use my fingers. So now we'll put some more in this one. Just adjusting it a bit because we got those leaves going this way and these ones now are going this way. So these ones, put the flowers on the top. Now that the bark's filling both holes, so I have a few of these sewer pots now. This one I didn't paint. Some I've done different finishes on. But this is the first time I put a big orchid in one of these. But it was a bigger sewer pipe. Price was sure right. Okay, and a little at the end. Now this one has a little leaf way down here. Maggie's crying out there because she knows there's something around. We don't want her bringing it in. Okay, this one needs to come out a little bit. Push down. I know bark is falling. So okay, I probably later will re-put these stakes in a little bit. Well, maybe that's okay if I just push it down and do one. Little things you have to do. Now this will be, now we will not get winter flowers for this one. Very doubtful because it's in flower now. But next year. Okay, there's one leaf way down there, one little leaf. And if you leave that little leaf way down inside the media, that isn't good. Okay, you'll see this in the house one day soon. So I have a nice pot because it can drain easily. And it goes on that pot. There we go. And very simple, very nice. So I should put this over here. Have I got time to do the one I was going to do? I'll be tidying the flowers up on that one later, and I think it's going to be just perfect. And the one I was going to do, oh, here it is. Okay, remember this one? I liked it. They're doing okay. What I don't like is when this one gets watered on the top, it dries out quicker. And this one doesn't dry out as quick. And if I give this extra water, it's dripping on these ones. I never thought of that. So before things get any worse, I thought I'd take it out. And the two little ones, now, the tag on these say Dollarama. And I took one, I drilled my own holes. I cut that off with a hacksaw, a little crooked, but I did it myself. And then all I did is I put a little bit of gesso on, and then some of this paint, folk art paint. And then the important part was the Varathane. I used water-based Varathane on it. And so it is ready. It is ready for these orchids. And what I'm going to do is quickly take them out, and I don't know, do I have time? Probably not. You know what happens with this camera, that if I go too long, it starts cutting it off wherever it feels like. And what I should do is go upload it, charge it, and then do a second video. So maybe that's what I'll do. I'll clean the orchid up. You'll see it all tidy. And I'll be back with another video before you know it. So I hope you're having a good time. And thanks for joining me. And now I can go check what Maggie's up to. Okay, bye now.